And thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Aric DiLalla.
Phil, great to be with you this week.
It is nice to be with you. Back here in the podcast studio.
That's right.
So it's nice to be here. Of course, we are missing our good friend at Denver Broncos.
Still, he hasn't signed his tender yet.
Ben Swanson's holding out.
Wants more.
He's going to test the market, I think, a little bit. I don't know.
Whatever. More power to him, I guess, but he'll come crawling back.
He sort of missed that first wave of podcast free agency.
Yeah.
I'll have to make it back.
Exactly.
Aric, you're not wearing a quarter zip today.
No, I'm not.
The weather's getting a little nicer outside. You take off the quarter zip.
Take off the quarter zip, little polo. Our good friend Ike, of course, who we know as Polo Ike. He inspired me.
Yeah. You're like, I want to be like Ike.
Yep. So I wore a polo.
Yeah. Be like Ike.
I think that's what the saying is, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Aric, of course, I'm wearing a dark polo here, or a quarter zip, because we're in mourning for our cats.
That's true, Phil. They had a nice run.
They did.
They almost got it done against UCLA.
Almost.
They won the first game. That's all you can really ask for.
One win is nice.
Yep.
Two is like, whoa.
It's the stuff of legends.
Yeah. You got to take baby steps.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
Season, yeah. It's okay. It's okay. This is sort of an interesting quarter zip because if I pop the collar all the way up, if you're watching on YouTube, it's a little bit too high.
Oh.
So you kind of have to bend it over. But it kind of feels sort of professorial or something, a little bit old fashioned maybe.
Yeah. It's not your best quarter zip.
It's not my finest one, no, but it's the one I wear when I'm in mourning.
Right. And in the morning.
And also in the morning as we record this.
So, Phil, there have been reports that the Cats are pooling together some NIL money.
Oh, really? Based off the recent success?
To keep their two biggest stars in Evanston for another season. And so the Neutral Zone, maybe we start our own collective or something like that. Channel some money over there. Could be really nice.
Got it. Yeah, that could be nice. Of course, up in Boulder,
they don't have NIL.
Dion's not about NIL.
No.
He's about the NFL.
Yep.
That's what he's about.
No NIL? No numbers up there?
Yeah, you can't be a single digit unless you're that guy.
Yeah, he said no offensive lineman will ever wear a single digit for him.
Yeah.
He said you got people asking for number one. How are you going to wear number one if you're not the one?
The one, exactly, yeah. I'm pretty sure the only person who has a number in Boulder right now is his son.
You're right. Yeah, number two.
He's that guy.
He is that guy.
Yeah.
Got to keep number one open.
Yeah.
They're competing up there for numbers.
Yeah.
What number would you wear?
All about competition. I think, I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're a nice 68, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say single digit, but I guess not.
No.
I guess not, huh?
No.
7 would be nice, but that's maybe a little too much.
Yeah. Well,
too much pressure comes with that.
Yeah. But
when you're the Q, sometimes
you'd be playing Q?
I'd be playing Q, I think.
Got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Of course, a Q can't wear 68.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'd be playing Q, I think.
Got it.
Yeah.
Maybe 4?
4 could be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Case Keenum.
Case Keenum, Brett Favre.
Yep.
Favre. And not a lot of other than that, huh? Those two are the...
Are we missing a big one?
I don't know. Maybe. Aric, today I think we'll talk a little bit about where this Broncos roster stands now after free agency.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Last week we talked about the free agents that came in and what they're going to be doing for the Broncos. But now with the draft about a month away, the first wave of free agency over, what areas still need some talent?
Some touch-ups here and there.
Yeah. How do they fill this thing up nicely?
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you go to the grocery store, you get the meat, you get the big things first, the major ingredients, and then you got to fill out the rest of the meal.
Of the cart.
Yeah, maybe you get some appetizers, you get the bread, maybe a dessert. It's kind of like we're in that phase now. We've got our meat and potatoes.
Yeah, that's true.
Now we got to fill up the rest of the menu.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So that's what we'll talk about here. Sort of an interesting position because looking at the draft, Aric, no first or second round picks. It's hard to get too excited because those are really the 2 rounds where fans know the names.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like very specific, like, hey, I'm a big Iowa Hawkeyes fan, so I know all these guys or something like that. It's not. There's not that much buzz about the third round.
No, and it's hard to talk about particular guys and just kind of hope that they're there. I mean, we did this last year, right?
Yeah.
The Broncos picked in about the same spot, and actually, we did talk about Nick Bonito quite a bit, and he ended up being there.
He was there.
But there's it's hard to just project how those first 66 picks are going to play out.
Yeah.
But I think you can still talk generally about what sort of position groups do the Broncos need a little bit more help at.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they'll be watching Sean Payton highlights.
Maybe.
For the first night, First 2 rounds, really. Maybe 1 round Sean Payton, 1 round Russell Wilson.
I don't.
Do you think? Or probably not. No comment. Oh, you think I went down the wrong path there.
It's a one-way road that you went up the wrong way.
And I went the wrong way.
Yeah. I'm going to just stay on the right side of traffic.
Okay, don't get in trouble. Don't get in trouble. I'll get in trouble. I'll go down. You keep thriving.
I think that sounds like a good plan to me.
Aric, of course, the Neutral Zone is an interactive podcast. We're here for the fans. We're here for NZ Nation. Can you tell people a little bit about how they can get involved in the show?
Phil, there's a lot of ways. You could leave an email at neutralzoneshow@gmail.com. You could leave a voice message at 707-NEUTRAL. You could tweet at us directly on Twitter at Aric DiLalla with an A, at Phil Milani with a PH. You turned off your 2-factor authentication, I think.
I had to.
So still exists.
It still exists. Yeah, I still have access to it.
Or Phil, you could comment directly on YouTube, the Broncos official YouTube page. We go there, we read all the comments.
We love those comments.
It's a little spicy this week.
Yes. Of course, last week, see what happened on YouTube last week was we were interviewing all of the free agents that came in. And in the middle of all of that, we posted the Neutral Zone. So I think we attracted some new audience members, some people who are experiencing the Neutral Zone for the very first time.
You think they're back this week?
Of course they are.
Yeah.
You get one little taste, you got to come back. You got to come back. You're hungry for more.
You're hungry.
Yeah. But Mr. Zephyr 722 always skip the first 15 minutes.
Wow.
Always.
Well, that doesn't sound like someone who just started listening,
not
right?
New, but upset maybe.
Yep.
That kind of started a whole big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Skip the first 15 minutes. NZ Nation came to our defense. Telekinesis? No, I think that's what they were trying to go for, maybe.
Oh, got it.
They said it's entertaining. These guys have a good time.
Yep.
Okay.
Sometimes.
But then John Kravitz came in and said, as far as banter goes, it's not good. I don't know who would find that entertaining. Our friend Jesse Caffarel said no about skipping the first 15.
Yeah.
No. Travis Cooper, though, says good idea. See, we got a lot of back and forth. Alan Black says they lack charisma to carry 15 minutes of banter. Labels on these videos, though, make it easy to skip past the, quote, intro. Wow. Cindy H., our friend, says agree to disagree. And then our good friend Killer 35 Durant. Nah, it's fun to listen to them.
Yeah.
So, and then it kind of it kept going.
Oh, it caught fire.
It kept going here. MT, there's a little too much banter. This 45-minute show could have been 25 and a lot more interesting. I prefer it when the lady does the show, to be honest. She's direct and to the point. I think, of course...
the lady has a name.
Yeah, Sydney Jones.
Yep.
Broncos Now.
It's a different sort of
different
podcast.
Show.
Yeah.
Different show.
This is an analysis. This is a kind of an interactive show. This is a humor show.
It is. The bottom line is that there's a lot of podcasts out there.
Yeah.
And unless you do something a little different, unless you build that relationship with the listeners, they could go anywhere. There's too many podcasts. And so if you don't like the first 30, first intro part, the intro, then what are you even doing here?
Yeah.
Rebecca Braun, 1/3 of this is just incoherent babbling. Then Darren Tadlock says, I know, I love it. See? It kind of got crazy.
1/3 is better than 2/3.
Yeah.
Unless you like the babbling, and then it's worse.
So 2/3 of the show are good, according to Rebecca.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe it. John Kravitz made another comment and said, I don't mind your guys' banter, but this time, let's be honest, it was a particularly bad show. Wow. You guys need to get into the off season and just relax. Fans like this make me laugh. That's from The Lord Collects.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then this is from Frankie A. I agree, like skim milk or half and half. What the hell does that have to do with football? I don't think we talked about that last week, but we have talked about milk.
We have talked about milk before. Guys, it's the end of March.
I know.
I kind of agree with that one comment from
Get into the offseason.
What is the Lord? What was it?
Yeah, this is from The Lord Collects.
The Lord Collects.
The Lord Collects.
It's the end of March. There's not a football game for
You got to relax.
5 more months.
We got to relax a little.
We're just having a nice little time here talking about the Broncos. There's a little bit of good-hearted nonsense tucked in there. It's going to be okay.
The person, Jay, this is just their name, just Jay.
Yeah.
And not J-A-Y. It's just a letter J.
I got it.
What is the first 5 minutes? Holy crap.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
I don't even know what's going on. And then one last one here. This is from Well AZ Union. Aloha from Hawaii. Lol. Phil, you ever in Hawaii? I got you.
But we did talk about surfing.
We talked about surfing.
We talked about waves.
Yes.
That was football related.
Correct.
We talked about free agency and people coming out of the wave.
Coming in the wave. Yeah, exactly.
There's a place for fun, right? It's a fun thing.
Aiden O'Connell.
You said it was the last one.
Sorry, there's just so many.
Didn't Aiden O'Connell play quarterback for Purdue?
Aiden O'Connell.
Fact check that while you read this.
This is like my 30th comment, hoping it gets read. Of course, Aiden. I'm sorry. It's taken so long. Aiden O'Connell, 30th comment. Analysis is always on point, but why do you think why do you all think we got Pirine with all the other options on the market? Why did the Broncos get Samaje Pirine?
Aiden O'Connell did play quarterback for Purdue.
Do you think this is the
If it's him, shout out to
the Boilermakers.
The Boilermakers. Sorry for your loss.
Ooh, in basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got knocked around a little bit by
as a 1 seed.
Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah. Fairleigh Dickinson.
It was a fairly bad loss.
Yeah. Did you see their communications guy as a junior?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Sparked a little bit of a firestorm on the old Twitter machine.
I like that. That's
some local media.
You got to be aggressive when you're in that business. As a kid, you're running the basketball team.
Yep.
That's amazing.
I like that.
Congratulations to that kid.
Yeah. It's kind of like me here.
Exactly.
I'm like 16 years old.
You're
and
like
let me do this.
Yeah, I wonder. Why do you think they got Pirine? That's what Aiden O'Connell wants to know.
I like Pirine. We talked about that last week. I like he's a vet. He holds onto the football. He's a physical runner. He can pass protect. He can catch out of the backfield. He can do a lot of things. I like that. And when you look at some of these contracts that other running backs have signed, it's just a little bit more than I think you've got to be really smart about that position in particular, I think, because it's a position where you cannot overspend, but you still need a quality player. Obviously, you don't want to just ignore it completely. And so there's a balance there of how much you put into it from a resource standpoint. Sean Payton's running backs have always been really good as outlet type guys, catching the ball out of the backfield. So I trust him there in terms of making the decision of who fits his scheme for the right price.
Totally.
That was football.
That was a lot
of football. Was that enough?
It was so much football.
So much football.
There is one last one. We got a lot of comments.
Oh my gosh.
This one's from CVC Pharmacy. Not a sponsor, but
I don't even know if that's a real thing.
Could be. CVC?
Yeah. Is it?
I don't know. CVS.
Right. Now we're just saying more non-sponsors.
Who do you guys think is the strongest current Bronco? Who's the strongest? Speaking of Pirine, the man is strong.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think Quinn Miners is probably up there.
Quinn Miners. Stephen Brown says Ben Powers.
Oh, yeah.
That's Powers,
a good. I forgot strong. We're including newly signed free agents. That guy looks like he could put up a few.
And then they at the skill position, he mentions Pat Surtain being the strongest skill position player. Then C. Thomas says, guess you guys forgot about Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
Very strong at the skill position.
Strong.
A lot of strong
New
guys.
fullback,
P.
Michael
Ryan is very
Burton.
strong. Yeah. Coming over from the Chiefs.
Yep.
Manhurts, our producer. Reed coming through with the Manhurts. Chris Manhurts.
How many times could Chris Manhurts bench Reed? Like 1,000.
1,000 times. Yeah. Of course, he played basketball in
Reed
college.
did?
Not Reed. No.
Oh, Chris Manhurts.
How tall do you think Reed is? 5'6".
Yeah, on like a good day.
5'7", maybe on a good day.
Yeah, really, those thick shoes.
The thick shoes he wears. He loves those thick shoes.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Reed is he's always wearing a collared shirt.
Yeah.
Every single day he's wearing a collared shirt.
He's just got that sort of sense about him, you know?
He could be pushing Swanson for some podcast supervisor time, I think, if you ask me.
The best availability, Phil.
No, nice try.
Darn it.
Goodness gracious.
That's going to get in the comments. The best ability, Phil.
Is availability.
Why don't you edit that part out?
Yeah. You want me to edit that?
It's availability.
And Reed's take care of you.
Reed's available.
Yes.
Ben Swanson, look at this little microphone just folded up. People can't see it.
The one thing I'd say about Reed is he never misses a podcast.
No.
Ever.
No matter what.
No matter what. And I like that about Reed.
No.
Swanson is testing the free agency waters. I don't like that. All right. Well, should we get into our first and only topic?
Yeah. Welcome in to people who skipped.
Welcome in to the people who skipped the intro.
We don't like you as much as the people who didn't skip.
Yeah. Not sure why you would skip to this point, but welcome into the show.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. We're talking about where the Broncos roster stands after the first wave of free agency here. There's about a month to go until the draft, Aric. And the Broncos, they need to, fill in some holes a little bit, paint the trim work, I would say. Maybe you could say that. What areas do you think the Broncos need to prioritize here, either in the back end of the free agency or in the draft?
Yeah, I think first of all, I think they've done a really good job. And part of that is because they've signed so many guys, right? I think we're up to 11 now, or 12 actually, because you have Riley Dixon and Asang Bassi these last couple of days.
How about Riley Dixon coming back, huh?
Yeah, I like that. A veteran who, I think you could argue whether he should have left in the first place, but obviously really productive. Well, of course, the Broncos played against the Rams last season. Riley Dixon did not punt the football.
No.
I think he took a picture. He took a picture with Baker after the game of them both holding up zeros because he didn't have to punt.
That's a nice day's work.
So if every game was like that for Riley, probably pretty good.
And that's why he came to the Broncos.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't like to punt actually, so that's why I came here.
Yep.
Right?
I think so.
Okay.
But you filled so many needs here in terms of quarterback, running back, tight end, offensive line, defensive line, inside linebacker, cornerback, safety. There's a lot of things that have been checked off here. And so I was a little worried, before free agency started of how are the Broncos going to do this where they can go into the draft and not be in a really tough spot because they only have 5 picks. They don't pick until 67th and 68th overall. I had concerns, Phil. I thought you were going to really have to sacrifice something and say, okay, we're at 67. We have to take an O lineman. We might still need a defensive lineman, but we're going to go into this season with some holes. And instead, the Broncos did a really nice job of they got some big name guys, but they also picked and kind of filled in with some ascending players, as we like to call them.
Some of the best ascending players.
Some good veterans. And they canceled out a lot of their needs. So my overarching thought is that they don't have a ton of needs. Now, if I were to look and say, where's a place where you could still add competition, I think O-line is still where I would look first. At tackle, is that what you're saying? You go there first in the draft? Is that sort of what you're thinking? I kind of view that still as like the number one need, if you will.
Okay.
I think you need depth there. Obviously, you added really solid players in Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers, but I think you need depth. I think it wouldn't be a bad thing. I, of course, am a big fan of Sir Lloyd Cushenberry III, but I think bringing in a little bit of competition there and just having some competition at that center spot could be a good thing. And Phil, you just think of how many injuries happen over the course of the season on an offensive line. You're going to need some guys there. And so I do think there's some additions that could still be made on the offensive line.
I think that that's a good position where you could draft somebody that you think has potential and then let them, maybe fill into their bodies, put some weight on, or like work on their technique a little bit. Like I always feel like offensive linemen, like it can take like a year or two before they really hit their stride. So I do think that that's a good position if you find somebody who's got high upside. Of course, I think, Aric, heading into the draft, you want to be in a spot where you could take the best available player. And like you mentioned, I do think the Broncos did a lot of good work in free agency where they're sort of in that position where, like, if they think that there's, I don't know, like a wide receiver or somebody like that who's they think is the best available player, I think they could go that way in the third round. Even though maybe on paper you're not like that's the biggest need, I think they're in a spot where they could do that. That's something that John Elway always said was, hey, address what you can in free agency with your needs. And then in draft, that kind of frees you up for the draft. But yeah, offensive line, I do think is an area where, look, Dalton Reisner's not here anymore. Graham Glasgow's not here anymore. Calvin Anderson not here. Cam Fleming. I mean, you're going to need some bodies there, you talk about the attrition at the position. You want some competition there. You're going to need some bodies. So I could see O-line being a big priority here.
Yeah, and I think especially on the O-line and especially when you're drafting guys in the third or fourth round, sometimes you get lucky and a guy is good or not just hitting, but like Damari Mathis was really solid in year one, but sometimes it takes those day 3 guys or late day 2 guys an extra year to kind of make it happen. Like Baron Browning obviously took a step forward from where he was. You think about Quinn Miners taking a step forward from where he was as a rookie.
Yep.
And so you've kind of, when you make these picks, it might not be a need this year, but it might be a need next year.
You got to forecast
based on like, who's going to be a free agent in 2024? Who's going to be a guy that maybe you move on from? Who's kind of on the, the tail end of their career? Those are things that, maybe it's not a need right now to draft X position, but I mean that like blank position, not X receiver.
Yes.
Blank position right now, but it could be 12 months from now. And instead of
that guy now.
Yeah. And instead of saying, hey, we're going to draft somebody next year. Okay, well, we've got this third round pick who's been developing for a whole season and now is ready to take a step into the starting lineup potentially. So those are things that, especially with the contracts that some of these guys have, that some of the players, will need moving forward, like a Pat Surtain. You've got to start hitting on these late day 2, day 3 picks, letting them develop, keep them in there. That's how good teams sustain success. Exactly.
Draft and develop.
And the Broncos have done a decent job of that in the last couple of years, but you gotta keep it going. And offensive line is a place where I could see that happening. Also, Phil, I think that, some sort of playmaker, whether that's a wide receiver, the Broncos have a crowded wide receiver room, but it's not without questions. Obviously, the Broncos, there's been reports that the Broncos have tried to add various free agent receivers or have at least had interest. Obviously, Broncos receivers their names have been floated in various trade conversations, which I think is just always going to happen when you've got a new coaching staff, teams around the league need players. But there's, KJ Hamler's coming off another injury. Cortland Sutton, I think showed flashes, but you still want him to kind of be that guy that he was pre-injury. Jerry Jeudy had to make a decision on his 5th-year option. He obviously finished really strong, but some inconsistency, some injuries at times. Tim Patrick's coming off an injury. So there's a lot of talent there, Phil, but I think there's some questions. And then when you think about it, the running back position, Javonte Williams coming off injury, not a lot of, else there from a depth standpoint after Pirine. You just wonder, is there room for another playmaker, somebody that has a dynamic ability to get the ball in space, scare a defense? Obviously harder to find those guys in the 3rd round than the 1st round, but Sean Payton has a knack for finding those guys. Maybe that could be an option.
Most definitely. They need some kind of a playmaker. And I was talking to our good friend Charles Davis yesterday. NFL Network analyst, CBS color guy. He said that the tight end position is loaded in this draft. So I think that is somewhere the Broncos could go with that, with a third round pick, just because they have Dulcich, Albert O, not sure where he stands, with the new coaching staff coming in, and then Manhurts. So maybe they add a guy there if there's a big time talent that's fallen to the third round. That's a possibility. I also know that running back is loaded in this draft. There could be some really big time talents there. I do think the Broncos need another running back, maybe two, Eric, just because you mentioned Javonte and Pirine. You're going to need to fill that area up a little bit. So I think that's for sure. And then wide receiver that's sort of been the talk of town, right? Eric, a lot of reports out there saying that the Browns and the Patriots have been interested in Jerry Jeudy, that the asking price is like a late first or early second round. Of course, the Browns made a trade for Elijah Moore with the Jets there. So you would think that market is going to be interesting to pay attention to. But Jerry Jeudy came on strong at the end of last year. And if they want to, he could play on his rookie deal 2 more years. So that seems like a good position to be in with Jerry Jeudy, if you ask me.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the option number is not the same as
it's a higher,
goes up, but it's still a reasonable thing.
That 5th year goes up.
I think that the question is just how do the Broncos want to shape this wide receiver room, and how does Sean Payton want it to look? Obviously Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy have different skill sets. The same way that I think even though Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick have similar, builds, their play style is also different. And so, how do you want to build this? You never quite know when a new coaching staff comes in. Guys that seem to be out of favor can all of a sudden take a big step forward.
Like an Albert O.
Yeah. I mean, but it's just going to be a question of, and it's one of those things where, because it's a position group where 3 guys can be on the field at once or 2 guys, it's about the combination as much as it is about the individual guy. And so it'll just be interesting to see how the Broncos kind of handle all that. Do they give opportunities to, a Brandon Johnson, a Jalen Virgil, these guys that to the last staff flashed a little bit. Do they still have an opportunity here to do something? Does Sean Payton watch their tape and say, I really like what Brandon Johnson can bring to this team?
Yeah.
It's interesting. And I would say, the same way there's some questions at wide receiver, tight end is the same way, right? Because Albert O has shown flashes at times, but he was clearly not, he did not fit whatever
last year.
Right. He did not fit what Nathaniel Hackett wanted to do. And then at the end of the year, when Jerry Rosberg took over,
caught a touchdown.
He caught a touchdown. And Rosberg basically said, I don't understand why this guy wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Greg Dulcich, really, really talented, had some injury issues. The hamstring bothered him all year. Could not stay healthy, unfortunately. He's got to figure that out. And so I think the interesting thing about this Broncos team is there's a lot of talent at places, especially on offense, but we haven't seen it all come together at the same time. We have not, there's just question marks. And so that's, when a new coaching staff comes in, I think they're going to want some, an insurance policy, if you will, of, hey, we got a young guy who I like, and if this doesn't work out, we can go that direction. I would say a running back, Phil, just some names, Tyler Batty, Demaria Crockett, Tyreek McAllister are some of the young guys still on the roster could, maybe they compete for that 3rd or 4th spot. So Broncos don't have to do that, but they don't have to target that position. But it also wouldn't surprise me if on, early on day 3 or something, they see a guy that they really like that has a lot of speed. Go get him.
I think a lot of that's going to depend on how the draft board falls those 1st and 2nd rounds, because I do think that it would make sense to me if there was one of those top guys, at least top guys on their board, the Broncos board. If they're there in the 3rd round, I would take a shot.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind that, Eric. I don't think
it's also because Javonte and Pirine are both big physical guys.
Yeah,
you kind of need the speed element, the get through the hole and go, the breakaway. Javonte before the injury was never a guy that was going to hit the hole and go 80 yards.
Yeah.
And Melvin, for all the fumbling issues, he did kind of have that breakaway speed. It wasn't necessarily something he would do all the time.
Certainly Mike Boone could do that.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos just need a guy that you talk about, quote, easy touchdowns. You need a guy that can
Love those.
just break through and all of a sudden, oh, here's a cheap 70-yarder that you got. And the opposing, the Jets had one of those, right? When they were here last year where it was one cut.
Boom.
And boom, you can't catch them. And so
Marlon Mack did that on that screen.
That's true. Yeah, that sort of situation
like that, yeah. I do think, so if the right guy was there in the third round, I wouldn't be like, whoa, why are they taking a running back? I would be like, that makes sense to me. Especially if it's a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield, who can just be a dynamic weapon. I would certainly be up for that, Aric. The other thing I think is when you look at the wide receiving group there, I would say that if they needed to add somebody there, maybe like a quicker, shiftier kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like that's sort of become into favor in the NFL. A guy who can just be a little bit crafty and then boom, 3rd and 4, they're like, oh, he's open. Somebody like that. I could see the Broncos addressing that position too early.
Yeah. And it also depends here, like what is, and we don't know this yet because one, Sean Payton hasn't really been asked about it. And also I don't think he would tell us anyway, but what does he want the offensive identity of this football team to look like? And if he's going to be in a lot of 2 receiver sets, and you're going to run the football a ton, like some people think the Broncos are going to do based on their free agency moves with adding McGlinchey, adding Powers, adding Manhurts, then maybe you don't need like 3 top tier guys on the field at all times at the receiver position.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to spread it out, then and throw the football or times when you need to do that, then obviously that's more of a priority. And so part of it will be interesting to see. I think maybe you'll get a sense of what are the Broncos thinking here from an offensive standpoint by what they do, in this second and third wave of free agency. And also once the draft gets here.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Sean Payton is that like when you talk to people about his offensive style or what he's good at, they always bring up the fact that he can adjust everything to the players he has. But right now he's choosing those players. Yeah. So it's like, well, what do you really want it to be? That's where we're sort of at right now. And then once this team starts coming together, then you could start making those kind of adjustments. But now you're shaping it. So what do you really want? And I agree, Aric. It does seem like running the football with some big guys out on the field. I mean, Mike McGlinchey is huge.
Yeah, he's bigger than you.
Bigger than me.
Good hair. His hair is better than yours too. I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
It's really nice.
You thought so?
It's good hair. You didn't think so?
What? Better than mine?
It was good. Good hair.
Is it better than yours?
Yeah, it is.
Really?
Well, your hair is better than my hair. Well,
I don't know if that's. I don't think that's.
Wow,
that was wow.
They're big guys.
I have to take a second here.
The Broncos, though, Phil. I do want to. Sometimes we get in like this either or, not us, but like the media in general. Broncos are still going to throw the football.
Yes, it's hard to win just playing like how the Titans play.
Right.
It's hard to have consistent success. I don't think that you go out trying to be that way.
The Broncos are not going to run the wing tee or the wishbone here.
But if you want that to be sort of your bread and butter, that's a different thing, where you're like, look, we're going to run the football. And then off of that, it's going to create a lot of different things.
Deep shot. Yeah. I mean, and it's also not it's not like a revolutionary thought here, right? Like run the football.
You have success there.
Yeah. Teams.
Yeah.
Good teams do that.
And I would say like in the past several years on offense, there's not been that identity. Where you're like, this is what the Broncos offense is really good at.
Yeah.
That's not been there. Like, what would you say last year? They were really good at blank.
They were really good at being injured.
Yeah. I mean, but I do think that if you have that one thing that you're like, this team's really good at this, then it makes the opposing defense adjust and react to that.
But it's easier to have your identity be throw the football when you got Patrick Mahomes, and it's easier to have your identity be run the football when you got Derrick Henry. I think back to like when Vic Fangio was here and he got asked, hey, what's a good culture? And he was like, good culture is winning.
Yes.
And like
culture is that.
If you have, I kind of view them as like the same thing. Identity is like this nebulous idea. And when you're playing good offense, it's like, oh, they got an identity.
Well, it's like, well, what are you trying to do? I guess is what I'm saying by identity.
But last year, people were like, oh, this defense has an identity. And I was like, they're just good. They don't like have a.
Yeah.
It's not like they are like sacking teams more than anybody else in the league or they're picking off more passes than anybody.
That's an identity.
Right. But They didn't do that. They were just good.
Yeah.
There's a good defense all
They were
around.
good. Yeah.
And people were like, that's it. They got an identity where they don't let you score.
I don't think they did.
People said that.
Yeah. But like the Super Bowl 50 team had an identity.
Yeah. They
Had the no-fly zone. That was their identity.
They had Von Miller.
Well, yeah. But because they were so good on the back end, Von could do whatever he wanted up front. And DeMarcus was there. But they had like an identity.
He went to the University of Texas A&M.
Yeah. Gig 'em.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an identity.
Texas A&M University?
Texas A&M University, yeah. Not the University of Texas.
My apologies.
You don't do that.
My apologies.
University of Texas.
Yes.
Texas A&M University.
The Big 12, I know they're SEC now, but the old Big 12 is confusing where you do like
University of
CU, University of Colorado.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense.
Well, because the UCs, that's the Cal schools.
Yeah, but,
UC.
But those aren't their initials.
Yeah. True. Northwestern is NU.
Yeah, because it's Northwestern
Nobody
University.
Really says NU.
No, because they're wrong. But they say Nebraska. They say NU for Nebraska, but Nebraska is University of Nebraska.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Do people say NU?
Yeah, they do.
CU, a lot of people say CU.
Nebraska fan, like if you watch a Nebraska game, it'll say like NU versus NW.
I know, but do people use that in?
Yeah, the Nebraska fans do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't make any sense.
Like Washington, UW. That's like part of their brand.
Yeah, that's good.
That makes sense.
Yeah. CU doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
KU
it's
doesn't make sense.
It's confusing. KU, people say KU a lot.
Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's the University of Kansas. Yeah. Sometimes you can't explain tradition. It's just how it is. You know what I mean?
That's good.
Yeah. So, but I do think that it's interesting crafting a team, kind of identifying like, hey, we want to be about this. That's what the Broncos are in the process of doing.
Yes. Last one before we move on to some like defensive needs. Maybe.
Yeah.
Would you consider a quarterback here?
Interesting. Of course, they were talking to Clifford from Penn State.
Yes.
Sean Clifford, right?
There you go.
Rose Bowl MVP, I believe.
The big red quarterback.
That he's looking at some of his highlights, Eric. He's like a mobile guy. He can run around a little bit. He can do some of those Taysom Hill. I don't want to compare him to Taysom Hill.
No, someone said his ceiling was like a Taysom Hill.
Yeah. Hard to compare to just somebody who's a freak like Taysom Hill. But I do think that Sean Payton does interesting stuff at that position. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, they have Drew Brees, and then all of a sudden Taysom Hill's out there. It's 3rd and 1. You're like, I have a Hall of Fame quarterback here, and I'm taking the ball out of his hands. That was always interesting to me, what they were doing with Taysom Hill. So I always feel like what he likes to do with that quarterback position is be a little bit creative.
Yeah.
And like sort of mix it up a little bit. So I could see them, maybe not in the 3rd round, but on day 3, I could see them taking a flyer on a guy who they feel like he could play as a rookie in sort of that hybrid role. Maybe I could see him doing that.
Yeah. I mean, Taysom Hill is obviously like kind of a unicorn that you can find a guy that can play special teams, can play tight end, can play fullback, can play quarterback. Some of the things that he did for the Saints in terms of the designed runs, like Russ can just do that.
Yeah.
Right. Like we've seen Russ run the read option. We've seen Russ on a quarterback sneak. I think maybe some of that in New Orleans was because that wasn't Drew Brees' skill set, or you didn't want to like force him to do that.
Of course, that's when Russ got his concussion, running out there like that. So
yeah, he's also run a lot of times and not had that happen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Makes you think.
That was an unfortunate
it happened one
play.
Time. I would say though, in general, quarterbacks are more vulnerable to injury when they're out of the pocket. I wonder what the statistics are.
I think someone did a statistical study about that, and actually in the pocket you suffer worse injuries.
They just protect the quarterback. I guess let's say it that way. They protect the quarterback a lot more inside the pocket. Correct. If you breathe on them in there, 15-yard penalty.
That's right. I don't know. I think the addition of Stidham is a young enough. Like if you'd gone out and you'd gotten a 10-year vet, maybe it makes a little more sense. But Stidham's still a really young guy.
And so he's there. They already had that potential guy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'd be a little bit more surprised now. But you're right. Maybe if it's this
late 3rd.
I mean, I would think it need to be like 5th or 6th round there.
Yes, late day 3.
Yeah,
yeah. It's just interesting. I think you could always add to that group at quarterback and just say, This could be the next Brock Purdy. This could be.
Yeah, but they didn't want Brock
like
Purdy
that.
to play, right?
No, but a guy who's like had a lot of experience in college.
Yeah.
And then maybe you could see that game transitioning that. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I always think that you could just use somebody there, but
you also got to think about, are you going to have 3 quarterbacks active on game day? I mean, it's
the other problem is that they only have 5 picks.
Yeah.
You know, right now.
So it's not like last year where you had, I think last year there were a bunch, right? Or
7.
Was it 2 years ago that?
Yeah.
I think maybe it was Georgia's first year. They had a bunch of picks, and so it's like, oh, you spend a flyer here on this guy.
Yeah. So maybe if they trade back, you know, and acquire some extra picks, like a 7th round or something, you know, whatever. I think I could see them doing.
Yeah. Phil, defensively, I think where I see still kind of the biggest, I don't know if need is the right word, but just a place to add some potential is still at edge rusher.
Yeah, they didn't do anything there really.
No, and obviously, you know, if you looked at it today and you said who's going to start, you would imagine Randy Gregory on one side, probably Baron Browning on the other. Maybe Nick Bonito pushes him to start there if he takes a big jump here in year 2. But I could see, and maybe it's not even the draft, because to find an edge rusher in round 3 that's going to be impactful is maybe not super likely. Maybe it's still like find a veteran here going into camp or after the draft or something that could come in and give you some good snaps there at edge rusher. But
some guy's still floating around out there, right? Like Myles Garrett is still out there, right? Isn't he? Or no?
Myles Garrett?
Isn't he the guy from the Browns?
Yeah. Is he not on the Browns?
I don't think so. I thought he was a free agent. Did I just make that up?
I'm pretty sure you just made that up. What are you talking about?
I thought he was a free agent.
He's really good. It's 16 sacks last year. There's no way he's
Wasn't he a free agent? Did I just make that up?
I think you just made that up. He's not a free agent. What are you talking about? This is why people come to...
You keep talking, and I'm going to...
Yeah, you're crazy.
Maybe I mixed up...
Myles Garrett and Malik Reed. Malik Reed is now on the Dolphins.
With Bradley Chubb?
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
I'm going to talk.
You talk? God, I thought that was... I'm going to have to edit all of this out.
I don't think that's allowed.
Ed rushers. Okay, hold on a second.
But obviously the Broncos have Randy Gregory, who's coming off a couple...
I was thinking of Clowney.
Yeah, different guy.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
That's okay. Yeah, Clowney. Great.
That's a Browns guy.
Yeah.
See, that's what I was thinking.
Different.
My apologies.
That's why you come to the neutral zone.
But we get it right eventually. I'm sorry.
Randy Gregory obviously dealt with some injuries. Baron Browning, injury as well toward the end of the year. I think showed some potential there. But everybody really kind of struggled after Bradley Chubb left. And so I think you're going to have to figure out, can Randy be that true number 1 guy that's on the field all the time? Is Baron Browning going to develop more? Is Nick Bonito a guy that can take a big step here? We keep talking, Phil, about the advantages of Sean Payton. I think having a more veteran position, like position coaches, a staff that has more experience, I think that's going to help some of these guys develop to, we talked a lot about the impact of changing head coaches, but I think from a staff standpoint,
a lot stronger,
more experience. And so maybe Nick Bonito, that would be he's like one of the top guys to watch, I think, in training camp is does Nick Bonito take a step? Because last year, figuring things out, 2nd round pick, it wasn't asked to do a whole lot until the end of the year, showed some flashes, I think had a sack and a half on the season. He's a guy that he's got to take a step. And so
in the weight room a little bit.
Yeah, got to take a step here, got to improve for him to kind of live up to where they took him at the end of the 2nd round. But I still think you need something else there. And I think if you can find a veteran, even if it's a guy that's going to just give you some good snaps as kind of like a relief player, that would, I think, be a good move.
Yeah, sometimes the way I look at this is like, what if there was one injury there? What would happen? That's sort of how I look at some of these things.
15 injuries there.
That's what happened last year.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, hey, if something were to happen to Randy Gregory again, they'd be in a really bad spot. I would just
you'd be asking Nick Bonito and Baron Browning to both take big steps forward.
That's asking a lot, if you ask me. I mean, at least just I'm being like, that's like saying, I hope that this happens. You know, you don't feel like, okay,
right,
this is going to be, we'll be fine.
And I believe Jonathan Cooper, right, is still there. But yeah, you need waves of guys. You need somebody there, I think.
Yeah. Some of those guys are kind of like, hey, it's third down. Let's add another pass rusher out on the field. Yeah. That's sort of what they are. You know what I mean? They're not like, hey, here's a guy to be reckoned with. We're going to have to double team this guy or something like that. Especially when you look at the way other teams are, they're loaded at that position. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, they got guy after guy after guy.
Other teams do have guy after guy after guy.
The Broncos right now got to find the guy after the guy after the guy.
Yeah. They just need a guy.
What about inside?
You got to add something there.
Yeah.
Deshaun Williams left.
Oh, sorry, inside linebacker.
Oh, linebacker. Oh, I thought you meant defensive. Normally when you say inside guy, I was thinking interior.
We were just talking about outside linebackers, so I said inside guys. Oh,
got it. Not on the line. Inside, I think they brought back Alex Singleton.
Yep.
They have Josie Jewell.
Yep. Jonas Griffith's still there. I don't think that needs a major addressing. It's not like a nice salad.
A major addressing. Yeah. Maybe like a side of dressing. Oh, vinaigrette. Yeah, a little side.
A little balsamic.
Yeah. Maybe some ranch dipping sauce.
Yeah.
Could do that.
The only thing I wonder, I think it's the last year of Josie's deal, right? And so if a guy falls and granted, Josie's was really good, and so maybe he stays longer. He obviously likes it in Denver. But since I believe he's going in the final year of his deal, if somebody falls there, that could be a situation where you say, okay, let's get a little younger there. Let's get some depth.
Speed.
Yeah.
Some athleticism.
Josie's athletic.
Josie?
Yeah.
I would say Josie uses his mind, and he's a step ahead.
I know you would say that.
I would say he uses his instinct. He's just a good football player, is what I would say. But when I see the physical tools, I'm not like, this guy's a specimen. He was not built in a lab, if you ask me. He was built on a farm.
Yeah, on a corn farm. Turkey farm.
Turkey farm.
You want to talk about the guys inside down there on the line?
Yeah. I do think they need to add there.
Okay.
That's a position where I could see them go in the third round. Somebody too. Just because Deshaun Williams, Draymond Jones leave, Zach Allen comes in, but you need another guy, I think, along that position there.
Yeah, I would say right now the starting lineup is probably like Zach Allen,
DJ Jones.
Well, I think you could probably like right now. I would think you'd probably put Purcell in the middle and put DJ Jones at the other end spot.
Yeah, you could do that.
I would think the other option, of course, is to keep DJ Jones inside and put like either Henningsen or Uwazurike at the other end. But yeah, I do think whether it's another vet there or a third round pick. I mean, Henningsen obviously showed a little bit more than Uwazurike in year one. Uwazurike was a higher draft pick. You need both of those guys to progress.
I think Uwazurike has a little more athleticism there. So like if he took that step, he could make a difference this year. Where Henningsen is sort of like, he's just a good football player too. He's a Wisconsin guy. You know, those guys just kind of produce.
They produce.
But if you walk by Uwazurike, this guy's just huge.
He's a big guy.
He's enormous.
He's a big guy.
He's intimidating. You know, and when I see Matt, I'm like, hey, what's going on?
He's not intimidating. He's a very nice guy.
Nice guy. Physically intimidating.
Oh, got it.
If you saw him and you're like, I'm going to have to run into him and just bang around, I wouldn't want to be excited. I wouldn't be excited about it. Got it. Would you be excited?
I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I do think they do. I think they need to add in some way there, and I would think they would. You can also, you're going to go through guys there. That's another place where guys miss a game or two here or there. When you're on the line there and it's as physical as it is, that's just what happens.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
that is what happens. So are you ready to just kind of sum up or no? Are you going to talk about secondary? How do you feel about the Broncos secondary?
The corner I think is good. You can always add like a guy in the late round just to come in, compete to be a special teams player, fourth corner, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I'm fine with Mathis as the second corner.
Yeah.
You got
showed
K1.
enough last year.
K1 there as the nickel. Sang's back. Traymon Smith. I mean, you got guys there. I think you're good.
Yeah. Special teams. That's an interesting point, though. It seems like they brought in a lot of guys to play special teams.
They kind of did that last year, right? And it didn't really.
Well, it seems like they need the good ones. Yeah.
The coaching's got to be there, is what I was going to say.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. And obviously the Broncos have some really experienced special teams coaches now.
Yes, they do. Very experienced.
Safety is the one place where you don't necessarily need to add anybody because you got Caden Stearns, you got PJ Locke. It's more of a question of, do the Broncos think Caden Stearns is ready to start, or do they think we need a veteran back there next to? And listen, Caden's played some good football. He obviously he missed a lot of last season with, I think, a hip injury.
When he's out there, he's good though.
Yeah.
Well, he had 2 interceptions.
Has a knack for taking the ball away.
Yeah.
But you got to stay out there.
Yeah.
And he also, the only thing I wonder is he and Justin have like kind of a similar style of play where it's like rangy, picking the ball up. If you need a safety that's like that box guy that's going to come up and hit somebody, I wonder if you need something else there.
So like Caden and Justin, they both like to do the interceptions, and we don't want that.
Sometimes you
got too many.
Sometimes you make
guys.
it sound like that.
We got all the interception guys out there. We don't want that.
But I think from a overall,
K-Jack could return.
Yeah, of course, anything's possible.
Could return.
Anything's really possible.
Anything is possible.
Myles Garrett could come here.
That could be nice, huh? Or a Clowney, whatever,
Whoever you want.
Yeah. Okay, so how would you sum it up? Like if you were to just guess, let's just say it this way. With those 2 picks in the 3rd round, back-to-back picks, oh, nice. What would you think there, at this point, just your best guess, just sort of for funsies?
Yeah.
What would you say they try to address there?
I think O-line and D-line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would say offensive weapon, to use your words. I would say running back.
Okay, there you go.
I would say running back. I would say running back and D-line. That's what I would guess.
Nice.
So we'll have to see.
I think they are really committed to building this thing from the front back.
They say the trenches.
The trenches. And so we saw that in free agency. It was their big 3, if you will, Phil.
Yeah.
All along the offensive and defensive line.
Yeah.
I think the same thing will be a priority when we get to the draft.
Yeah. That's how you win a lot of these games. That's how you lose a lot of these games. And if you want to be really solid there, then you could build it out from there. So I could see you being accurate there.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, you want to get to some shout outs?
Yeah, that could be nice.
Anybody you want to highlight? Of course, Nikola Jokic.
Yeah. Back in gear.
They got things running again a little bit here.
Yep.
A nice win over Washington on Wednesday night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Giannis and Embiid are both coming to Denver shortly, right?
Very soon, yes.
Yeah. I've read that they might not even play, right? They're afraid.
Oh, are they scared of Jokic?
I think I read, and I could be wrong because I don't really pay attention.
You tell it to me.
I believe that both of them are coming here on the second night of a back-to-back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you love the schedule.
And so I think there was some talk about
might not even play.
Neither one of them playing.
Well, hey, if you want to be the MVP, you got to play the games.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say that. Wow. I'll say that.
You got to play in some games to be the MVP.
Yeah. And also, I would just say that for a guy like Embiid, he had a nice showing against Jokic earlier in the year. And if he wants to win MVP, if he came in here and did the same thing, that would put a lot of, that would leave a lasting memory in some voters' minds, I would say. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, the Sixers, it's not a back-to-back, so I lied.
Okay.
Bucks is a back-to-back.
Giannis, okay.
Giannis back-to-back.
Yeah.
Embiid not back-to-back.
Got it. It's going to be very interesting down the stretch here.
Yeah.
Especially even just aside from Jokic, just that number 1 spot in the West. It's gonna the Grizzlies and the Kings are getting a little bit closer.
Oh.
Yeah, it just makes you sort of think about it a little bit. You don't want to be you want that home court advantage.
You do.
Especially the Nuggets are very good at home.
You don't just go into Ball Arena and win.
Correct. You don't. That is correct.
Correct.
Yeah. So obviously, shout out to Nicole Jokic. Anybody else?
Shout out to our friend Liz Geralds.
Oh, of course.
Got a birthday coming up here.
Yeah.
Before our next show, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah, the big 2-1.
Yep. You can maybe take her out for a beer.
Yeah. First one.
First one ever.
Exciting.
It is exciting. Doing some nice work in the community, though.
Yep.
So that's
really good community.
Some of the best.
Anything else, Phil?
I'm trying to think about what else has been going on. We got a nice piece coming up pretty soon here on DenverBroncos.com on the turf.
Wow.
A lot of people are starting to get their lawns. I know you are. Eric.
Yeah, get that
You're
lawn
really
right.
Thinking about trying to get their lawn right.
Yep.
Like to spend some time in the summertime out in the outdoors.
In the outside.
Enjoying, grilling a little bit.
Yep.
And that's what you do.
Get a little barbecue going on the smoker.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what it's
all about.
That's what it's about. You want that lawn looking right?
Yep.
Who better to ask than the people who make the fields here so beautiful?
That's right.
So,
did you see how they changed the turf at the stadium?
Final game?
I mean, the way they did that,
they
made it look so much better.
They did that.
That was our people.
Yeah.
How do they do that?
This one is just about the training facility.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
Yeah. So different turf departments.
Got it.
You got a stadium turf department, training facility.
Yeah, very different. Different types of turf. Soil.
Yeah. Well,
maybe
they play the one game there.
Yeah.
Kind of every other week.
Sure. For all intents and purposes.
And the stadium's used for other things.
Yeah,
so they're
concerts.
constantly changing the.
Yeah. You ever heard of Taylor Swift?
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard. I heard you can't get tickets to that.
Oh.
That's what I heard. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so that's the challenge there, I think. At the training facility is just every day.
Every day.
It's just the cleats.
The grind and.
Yeah. There's just so much usage.
Yeah, a lot of usage.
Yeah. So.
Phil, one more for me.
Look for that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, look for that. Phil Milani special.
Tease.
Shout out to Arizona, Phil. We will be taking a show on the road.
Next time you see us, instead of being in the official podcast studio, maybe we'll be by a pool.
Be in a palm tree.
We'll be up in a palm tree. Some coconuts.
Fans of the show might remember last year from the annual league meetings when we did the show by the pool in Palm Beach.
Yes.
Be a similar situation. We're heading down there. Hope to hear from some Broncos leadership.
Yeah.
Some key figures. We, of course, have not heard from Sean Payton since free agency.
Correct.
Coach's breakfast. We know he'll be talking there.
Correct.
That's on Monday. We'll stream that on our website.
Ooh, and on social media.
I
think.
Hopefully. Nice and early, I think. I think it's like
8:45 local time.
8:45
something like that. Yeah.
So get to hear from him. I think it's it's like 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's a nice.
I'm so excited. I'm going to get my notebook already.
Get the recorder cleared out.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is what you live for.
Going, yeah.
But maybe we'll hear from some other people too.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. We should have a better idea where things stand here. You know, it's always an interesting time, this little period here.
Yeah.
The draft's coming up, free agency just
Players
happened.
Players aren't back yet.
Some league issues, you want to address.
Players are back, but
we
never left.
What do you think about the what do they call that? The tush push, that play where you push the quarterback in?
Whatever.
That's going to be, might be a topic of conversation.
Really care.
You don't care about it. Just do it. Just stop.
I mean, it's like one team did that, right?
Yeah. But
they're like, that team's too good at football.
It sort of caused a little bit of a wave.
Can we make a rule that Patrick Mahomes can't play anymore?
Yeah. No Travis Kelce.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You can
no Andy Reid shenanigans inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah. Like the ring around the posies.
Yeah. The what?
Pocket full. Ring around the roses.
Rosies.
Pocket full of
posies.
I think that's how that goes.
I think so.
Who knows? All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. But yeah, we'll be down there. The next show, maybe there'll be some ambient noise of some gurgling waters.
Cannonballs.
Yeah, babbling brook. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. We'll be wearing sunglasses probably.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I won't be wearing my morning QZ.
No
QZ. Maybe even just swim trunks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we should put up a little vote.
No, I don't think so.
No, that would be bad.
Yeah.
We'd lose a lot of viewers.
I think so.
The people who thought the first 15 minutes were bad.
The last 15, yeah.
Yeah,
Much worse.
Insane. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Ben Swanson will not be there next week. So that'll be what?
3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Basically almost a 12th of the year. You wonder why he's even here.
I really don't know what's going on. I'm very confused. So anyway, that's going to do it for us. For Aric DiLalla, I am Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.